Hi, all of you. Welcome back to the next section of our Unix programming. And in the last session, what we have done is we have seen how the commands will be executed at the command prompt of any Unix flavor. As we have observed that because what we are studying is Unix and those commands are all related to Unix, and we have tried them to execute, and some commands have not found in the application, so don't worry about that. So whenever you are going to use any Unix system directly, then you will get every command which is executed, so that's not an issue. Okay, so further we will move forward with the other concepts. Okay, so let us continue. Today we are going to discuss about link files. So as I told you earlier that whenever you are using ls minus l, that is the long list of files command in the command prompt, you are getting some information which contains some columns which are used to represent something like permissions, the date and time of the creation of file name, and also I have shown you that there is a column which represents the number of links that the file have. So now what is link and how to create those links we will discuss today, right? So see, so link in a Unix is nothing but a, again, it is a file, but it is not a physical file. It is something like alias name. For example, people will have so many names like nicknames. They will have nicknames, they will have original names, something like that. So similarly, a file is also may have some links. So those links are generally can be called as alias of the file, because those links means they are not physical files. That means if a file is having two links, for example, that means that the file is existed physically at one place, but the remaining two links, nothing but the names of the files, are not physical. That means they only can be used to access the file, but it is not a original file. That you need to understand. So link is not a kind of file, but instead of a second name for a file, it's nothing but some name given to the file. Okay, so what is the use of these links? So it is necessary to create links to the file? Let us see what is the use and what are the advantages and disadvantages with the linking of files. So when a file had two links, it is not physically present, as I told earlier, and but can be referred to be either of the names. So with the name of suppose say if you are creating a link to a file, if it is having two names, you can refer that file. That means you can access that file by using any of the name that you can do. So how to create a link? Simple, it is ln, the command to create a link is ln sample my sample. So that means here what you are going to do is you are going to establish a link for the file sample with the name my sample. Now if you find, you will have two separate names for the file. One is sample file, which is physically present at the directory, and my sample is nothing but the link created to the sample file. So my sample is not physically present, but it is the alias of sample. So you can access sample file by using either my sample name or simply sample also you can use. So this you can do. So what is the use? Let us see. So links can be used to assign more than one name to a file, but they have some important limitations. So what are the limitations? Let us see first. So limitations are, they cannot be used to assign a directory more than one name. That means you can assign a name more than one name to a file, but you cannot assign to a directory. And then it cannot be used to link file names on different computers. So this command, ln command, can be only used to create links to the files which are in the same computers. So same computer you can use to create alias names to any file, but you cannot use you cannot use this command with the files which are not in the same computer. So that's why we will use some other concept that is called symbolic links. We will discuss it in the next slide. So before that, the advantage with the use of these links are, if for example if you have an important file and unwantedly, say for example you may unwantedly deleted that. So if you don't have any link, if you delete that file, there is no getting back, so you cannot retrieve the file back again. So if you have some links, so even though if you try to or unwantedly remove that file, you can access the file and you can get back it by using the link of that file, because there is very less chance that you will remove both the link and file. There is very less chance. So whenever you are you think that this file is very important, it is better to create some links to that file, so that even if unwantedly if you remove that file also, you can retrieve it back, you can revival it. So that is the biggest advantage with the linking of files. As I told you that because it is have a disadvantage also, like it cannot be used with directories, or it cannot be used with the files which are not in the same system. So we are going for symbolic link files. So what is this symbolic link file? So simple, whatever the disadvantage which is having link files are overcome with the symbolic link file. That means by using this symbolic link file, we can create links to the files which are not in the same computer, and also we can also use the same symbolic link to create areas for the directories also. So those two are the disadvantages in the link files. Now we are overcoming by using this symbolic links. Okay, so links can be used to assign more than one name to a file, but they have some important limitations. So they cannot be used to assign directory or more than one name. So that is the disadvantage we are overcoming here. So how we can use it, let us see. So we can use simply ln command. So ln with an option -s. -s stands for symbolic. So the ln command can link files with a single file system. You can also link files across the file systems using -s option. So you can see the example. There is an example given here, that is sln, that is ln as not sln, it is ln with -s option, where /var/x/docs readme, that is the file which is staying in some docs directory, and we are going to rename it as temp/x.readme. So we are going to create a symbolic link to the file which is at where x docs readme, that file name is readme. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create a symbolic link to the temp/x.readme. So this is the file which is not in the same directory. So because it is not in the same computer, we are using the full path name. So we need to specify the total path where the file is existed. So that is the thing we are doing here. So in addition to allowing links to across file systems, symbolic links enable you to link directories as well as regular files. So similarly, as you are doing with the regular files, you can create the links to the regular files. You can also create alias names to the directories also. The same way how we are doing with the files, the same way you can also do with the directories. That's what you can do. And the next one is file permissions. This is the most important concept of Unix. So this is a little bit larger concept, and we need to understand it properly to know what is this permissions, how we can do, and all the things we need to understand first. Okay, so generally there are three classes of permissions for the three classes of users. As I told earlier in earlier classes, there are three types of users are there. One is the owner, means who created that file will be called as a owner. And the second one is the group the file belongs to. That means if the owner is in some group, so the file will be belongs to that group. So that is the second part, that is second class of user. And the third class of user is all other users. So other than this owner and the owner belongs to some group, this is the second class. And the third class is which is other than these two. That means the owner and the group, remaining people will be called as others to when with respect to that file. So remember that there are three types of users. One is the owner who created the file, and the second one is the group who belongs to that means the owner belongs to that group, and the third one is remaining all people. That means others are called remaining people are all called others, right? And there will be three types of permissions also. There will be read permission, there will be write permission, there will be execute permission. These are the three permissions for each file and for each user you will have. So when you are using ls minus l command, that is the long list of files we are going to display. As I told earlier that the first 10 characters, the first 10 characters will show you the permissions and the file type. So as I told you earlier that the first character of the ls minus r command will gives you the type of the file. That means it will be dot or hyphen for normal files, and D for directories, L for link files, similarly dot for hidden files, something like that. And the next 9 characters are very important. Those 9 characters will decide how the permissions have been given to the 3 types of users. So as I said, there will be 9 characters. Those 9 characters are divided into 3 characters each. So the first 3 characters represents the file permissions of the user. User, as I told earlier, who is user? Who the person who creates that file will become as user of that file. And the next 3 characters will gives us the indication of what are the permissions are available for the group to which the owner belongs to. And the last 3 characters will gives us the idea about the permissions which others have to access the file. So these are the 9 characters are very important. It will show something like, as I show in the current slide, I have separated them into three characters. The first 3 characters are rwx, which are the permissions for the user, and the next 3 characters are r-x, those are the permissions of the group, and the last 3 characters are r hyphen and hyphen. So these are the permissions of the group others. So this you can do. So what I have told you earlier, this is the thing. The first 3 letters rwx shows that the owner of the file can read it, write it, and execute it. As I told earlier that letter R represents read permission, letter W represents write permission, and X represents the execute permissions. So as in the previous slide, we have shown that rwx, the first 3 characters are rwx. So those are the characters which represents the permissions of the owner. So the owner will have read, write, and execute permissions for that file. The second group of 3 characters r-x, which is nothing but indicates that members of the group can read and execute but cannot write into it. That means they don't have write permission. They can only read that file, or they can execute it. So they cannot read. Similarly, the last 3 characters are r-hyphen, means they are only having read permission. The others are having only read permission. They can only read the contents of the file, but they cannot write or execute it. That is the thing that has been shown in the previous slide. So what do you mean by read permission? If you have read permission for a file, you can view its contents. That means you can display the contents of the file and you can read them. Similarly, write permissions gives you that you can alter it contents. Alter means you can update it, you can delete it, or you can do whatever it want to do with that file. That is the write permission. And execute permission means it will allows you to run the file as a program. So if it is an executable file, definitely the file can be executed as something like a program. Okay. So for directories also the same thing. For directories, read permission allows user to list the contents of the directory. That means if the directory is having any files, that those files can be viewed by the person who is having the permission. Similarly, write permission means you can create some files under the directory, and you can you can do whatever you want with the files. And execute permission means it allows the users to change to the directory using the cd command for or use it as part of a path name. That means if you don't have that execute command, execute permission with the directory, you cannot go into the directory. But you can create files, but you cannot go into the directory with the use of cd command. As in the previous classes we have seen that cd command is used to change to the directory, so we cannot do that. Okay. And then, as I said, this is the important command chmod. So chmod mod command is used to change the file permissions. So how they are used, how the command is used, see the syntax is chmod. Who means nothing but for whom you want to change the permissions. Either you want to change permissions for the owner, or you want to change the permission of the group, or you want to change the permission of the others, so you need to specify that. Then there will be there are three symbols used to give permissions. That is those are plus, minus, and is equal to, and followed by the file name. So to indicate a user, you need to specify a letter with the letter U. To denote a group, the letter is G, and for others the letter is O. So whenever you want to give permissions, you need to use U for user, G for group, and O for others. Remember these 3 points. And then the plus symbol is used to add a permission. If, say for example, if some group is not having write permission, if you want to add write permission, you need to use the plus symbol followed by, for permission we are using, say for example, write permission we are using W, for execute permission we are using X, and for read permission we are using small r. So these are three letters used to represent the permissions: R for read, W for write, and X for execute. And for plus, you need plus symbol is used to assign some permission, that means not assign, to add permission. And minus symbol is used to subtract permission, that means you need, if you want to remove a permission to a file, so you can use minus symbol. And is equal to, this is the most important thing, is equal to and plus is bit differ, those two are somewhat different. Like is equal to is used to assign permission, that means it will assign something to that file, at the same time it removes the remaining permissions. Suppose for example, if a file is having only write and execute permissions, it doesn't have any read permission. If you use equal to symbol to assign read permission, it will assign the read permission, but what at the same time what it does is it removes write and execute permissions. So for example, say for example, RW and X is given permissions for a file, say for example F1. Say for example, R doesn't have, the file doesn't have any write permission or read permission, it is only having W and X. So clear it. So a file is having only WX, that is write and execute permissions, say for example file F1. So now what we want to do is, I want to assign read permission to this file. So if you use is equal to symbol to assign read permission, it will assign read, at the same time it removes W and X. That is the thing. But when you use plus symbol, it will add to the existing thing, that means it will add R, at the same time it also doesn't removes any permissions which are already having. That is the difference. I think you got the point. So plus and is equal to both are used to assign permissions, but while using plus symbol it won't change the other permissions. But when you are using assign, that is equal to symbol, it will assign the given permission, but at the same time it removes the all existing permissions. That is the important thing you need to remember. So as I said, you need to remember three things here. The first thing is U symbol used to represent user, sorry, not user, yes, user or owner. And then G is used to represent group, and O is represented to for others, and plus is used to assign permissions, minus is used to subtract or remove permissions, and is equal to again assign permissions, at the same time remove all other permissions. And R is used to represent the read permission, W is used to represent the write permission, and X is used to represent the execute permissions. Then we will see some examples here now. So what it was showing that add write permission to group members to sample file. Here the name of the file is sample, say for example. Now what we need to do is, we need to add what, write permission to the group. Now see, to add write permission, what we need to do, to add we need to use a symbol plus. So which permission we need to add? We need to add write permission. Write is represented by W. To whom we need to add? We need to add to group. So the command will be chmod followed by G plus W. To which file we need to add this? Sample file. So in this way you can use the chmod command. So this is the command syntax. So here what we are doing is, we are adding write permission to the group for the file sample. That is the thing we have done here. Let us see another example. In the second example, what they have told is, add execute permission to others and owner on sample file. What we need to do is, we need to add execute permission, that is x we need to add. To whom we need to add? Owner and other. Owner is represented nothing but user u, and others is represented as o. So what we need to write? uo plus x, because we need to add execute permission. So uo plus x. Before that we need to write chmod. So which file we need to add? Sample file. So we can write it in two ways as I shown in the slide. U plus x comma o plus x, that also works as the same way as uo plus x. So remember, uo plus x is very simple. So whatever the permissions we need to add, you can write it, then plus symbol, then you can write to whom to add. Let us see another example. chmod. See, so assign read permission. Now see, this is assign, not add. So assign is different from addition. Assign is nothing but is equal to, addition is nothing but addition is plus. So now what we need to do? Assign read permission to others. So read permission is r. To whom we need to assign? To others, that is o. And the same time remove write permission. So what we need to do? We need to remove the write permission. So write permission is denoted by r. We need to remove means use subtract symbol. To whom we need to remove it? Group members. So group members are represented by g. So use it ch mod o plus r and g minus comma g minus r to the file sample. So in this way you can use these chmod command to assign or add or remove any file permissions available. Okay, so only three things we need to remember here is the symbols used to represent several things, like for read permission it is r, for write permission it is w, and for execute permission it is x, and for addition of permission plus, for removing permission it is minus, and for assigning permission it is w. And similarly user or owner is represented by u, the others are represented by o, and the group members are represented by g. Only these things we need to remember. If you remember these 9 letters, it is very simple, right? Then there is also a second way how you can change permissions of the file. So till now what we have done is we have used we have altered or removed or added new permissions to the files by using his chmod command, and we have done this by the help of those 9 letters which are used to represent several things. And another form of chmod command lets you to set permissions directly by using numeric code. So what are the numeric codes available? And let us see. You just concentrate on this table. So in this table, generally the numerics like 4 to 1 are used to represent 3 permissions. That is, read permission is always represented by number 4. I am talking about numeric method to change permissions. Okay, and the write permission is always represented by 2, and the execute permission is always represented by 1. So read, the number numeric for read is 4, the numeric for write is 2, and the numeric for execute is 1. Okay, so and the combination also you can find. So how to find the combination? So read and write. So the combination of read and write is 4 plus 2, it is 6. Again, write and execute. What is the combination of write and what is the sum of write and execute? 2 plus 1, it is 3. Similarly, read and execute means 4 plus 1, that is 5. Similarly, all these 3. So 4, 2 plus 1 is nothing but 7. So whenever if anyone asks you to give read and write, you need to use 6. And whenever somebody asks you to only give write permission, that means you need to use only number 2. So this is the numbers you need to remember. If you remember the first 3 numbers, that's enough. So remaining things can be found by by using those addition method. Okay, so read 4, write 2, and execute 3. So combination you can find with the sum, adding by them. Okay, let us see how do we do it. Suppose, see, if you are using the first example, chmod 700 sample, again you remember the first numeric is only to represent the permissions of the user, not owner, user, and the second numeric 0 is used to represent the permissions of the group, and the third letter, the third 0 is used to represent the permissions of the others. Okay, so there will be always three letters will be there whenever you are using numeric method to change the permissions. So the first letter always represents the permissions of the user. The second letter is always used to represent the permissions of the group, and the third letter is used to represent the permissions of the others. Okay, so now what here done here is we are using chmod 700. So what is the 7 represents here? As I said, for read it is 4, for write it is 2, for execute it is 1. Execute is represented by x. So 7 is nothing but the combination of all three. So the first letter 7 means the user is having all the permissions. Read, write and execute permissions the user is having. So 0 represents nothing because there is no permissions for the group. Similarly, the next 0 represents there are no permissions for the others. So if you want to give only permissions to the user, all the read and write and execute permissions, and you don't want to do give any permissions to anyone else, they don't want to disturb your file, you can use this chmod 700 sample. So we'll see another example. So chmod 754 here again 7 represents permissions of the who user. So 7 is nothing but the all three permissions: read, write and execute. And the next number 5, what is number 5? It is the numeric to represent the permissions of the group. So now let us see what is 5. 5 is nothing but the combination of 4 and 1. What is 4? Read permission. What is 1? Execute permission, that is x. So that means here we have given permissions read and execute permissions to the group. We didn't given any permission to update it. So the write permission is not there for the group. And the last one is 4. What is 4 here? 4 represents the permissions of the whom? Others. So others have only number 4. That means they can only read that file. They don't have execute permission or they don't have write permissions. These two permissions we have denied, right? So in this way, by using this numerical method also, you can give file permissions. Fine. And see, umask to set permissions. So till now we have discussed how what are the symbols used to give permissions, what is the command used to give or assign permissions, that is chmod command, how you can give permissions to files, and also we have seen the second method, that is the numeric method to assign permissions to files. And now let us see what is umask command. So what are the things we have done till now are only for a single file. You can give permissions to a single file, you can do that, but you can also do like this. That means whenever you log into the system or whenever you create a user, you can set default file permissions so that any file which is created under that user will have the same permissions. That means, say for example, if you are created a user and you don't want to give any write and or you don't want to give execute permissions to the user, so whatever the files he creates, how many number of files he may create, those all files will have only read and write permissions. Those will not have any execute permissions by default. So there is no need of assigning files no need of assigning permissions to every file. So by default the file will be created with the permissions which are set at the umask, means set at the initial stages, that is umask, by using the umask command. So umask command is somewhat little bit complicated when compared to the previous two, that means numeric method or normal method. This umask method is little bit somewhat confusing. So let us see how it works also. Okay, and also remember that this umask setting is set up by the system administrator. So the system administrator who creates the user will set the umask so that all the files under that user should have the same permissions. So umask permissions uses again the numeric method. So for example, if you 777 means read, write and execute. As I said, permissions for user, group and others. As I said earlier, the first letter 7 represents the permission of the user. So 7 means all the permissions. The second letter is also 7 here. So the group is also having all the permissions, and the third letter is also having all the permissions. Okay. So whenever you are using umask command, you are telling the system that you want to subtract those permissions from 777. So that means by default the umask will have 777 permissions. Okay, so you need to concentrate a little bit more here. So by default every file will have 777. So you, when you are saying that you must 022, that means 0 means the letter 0 will be subtracted from the first 7. So 7 minus 0 is nothing but 7. Then 2, so 2 will be subtracted from the second 7. The result is 5. And again the last letter is also 2, so again the 2 will be subtracted from the last 7, that is 5. Now see, this is the original permissions. That means 7 means the first letter permission of the user, that means 7 means all the three permissions. Then the second letter is 5, which is the permissions of the group. Here 5 means read and execute, so 4 and 1 is 5, this way 5 means read and execute permissions for the group. And the last letter is also 5, that means the others are also having read and execute permissions only, that you can you need to understand. So normal numeric method you will be assigning directly. Now here whenever you want to give the permissions 755, that means you need to use 022. So actually you want to give permissions like this 755. So for that you need to give 022, so that 777, whenever the 777 is subtracted from the 022, it should have 755. Similarly here also, if you want to give 700, that means 700 permissions to a file. So 700 means, as I said, if you to want to get 700, what you need to use 0. So 7 should not be subtracted from anything, so 7 will be automatically there. And then the second letter is by default is 7, so therefore 7 minus 7 is 0, and the third letter is also 7, so 7 minus 7 is 0. So whenever you use umask 077, that means it is nothing but 700. That means you are giving read, write and execute permissions to the user, and you are denying any permissions to the group, and also you are denying any permissions to the others also. In this way you will have to use umask. So umask command is only used by the system administrator to set default permissions to every file. So how many, whatever the files you will create under your directory will have the same permissions by default, that you can do. So the next thing is changing the owner of a file. It is also very important. So what do you mean by changing the owner of the file? Say for example, in our class there is a cr. Say for example cr is there. Now I have given, or the HOD has given that to maintain some files under him. So CR will maintain some files, like he will maintain, say for example, regular attendance. He will maintains the assignment list who have been submitted, or he will maintain some internal marks, something files he will have. Say for example, now till now this those files are owned by who? CR. CR will own these files. So sometime, after some time, what happens is say for example the HOD has changed the CR in your class. So he don't want the current CR, so he is not satisfied with the CR, so that he will assign the same job to any other person. Now what we need to do, because these all three files still now are with the XCR. Now what we need to do, we need to change the ownership of that files. So how to change the ownership of the file? You need to use a command known as chown. Now what is chown? Chown is nothing but ch1 followed by Ramesh hello. Now what? Hello is the file name. So now for example hello is the file name. Previously the hello file name is, say for example, with say Vamsi. I'm saying a name Vamsi. Now because Vamsi is no more a CR, now Ramesh is the new CR. So what I want to do is, I want to change the ownership of hello file with to Ramesh. So previously it is owned by Vamsi, now it will be owned by Ramesh. Okay, this is very simple. But you need to understand here is, this chown command can be used by the user only. That means the owner has to change the ownership. So that means here in this case Vamsi is the XCR. Only Vamsi can change the ownership of that file. No other cannot do that. So only Vamsi can hand over the file or ownership to the new CR. That is the thing you need to remember. Okay, it's very simple. Just you type ch1 followed by the name to whom you want to you give the ownership, and followed by the file name. So here in this case ch1 Ramesh hello means the hello file's ownership will be transferred to Ramesh, right? Similarly, there is another command is there, that is ch change group. As I said, now he owner is changed. At the same time group may also wants to be changed, so same formula. So ch group csc hello. So before hello is belongs to some other groups. Now I want to change the hello file to hello files group to csc. So same thing, you need to type chgrp followed by the group name followed by file name. So ch group space group name space file name. That file will be changed to the other group. Okay, so now again the same here, this command ch group command is also must be used by the owner itself. So the only the owner can change its group. Okay, no other can change its group. The owner means the person who creates that file only can change its ownership or its group. Okay, that is the point you need to understand. And again the next concept is file compression. So as we have some commands in Windows like zip, rar, those things are used to zip files. That means you need to compress them, you need to resize them, you need to reduce the size of the files. You will use zip and rar, something some tools we are using. Similarly in Unix also there are two files or two commands. One is compress and another one is pack, and these two commands are used to both commands are used to compress files. Let us see how they are used. So the simple thing is you need to write as syntax will be compress followed by file name. So whenever you use, say for example, compress, say for example f1, when you type like this, f1 file will be compressed. That means a new file with dot extension z will be stored in your directory. The original file will not be there. Remember that whenever you are compressing a file, the original file will not be there. A new file with the name .z extension will be created in the directory, which is a compressed file. Okay, got it? So that is the important thing we need to remember. And normal cat command cannot display the contents of f1.z. So normal files, whenever you want to display normal files, you can use cat command, but when you compress a file, it will be that extension will be changed, so that the normal cat command cannot display its contents. So what we need to do, we need to use zcat. So whenever you want to display the contents of a compressed file, that is the files which are compressed by using compress command, if you want to display the contents of compress command file, you need to use zcat. Normal cat command cannot be displayed. And the options with compress is minus v option. Minus is nothing but verbose option. So verbose option is nothing but it will shows how much it is compressed, how much the file size is compressed. So whenever you use this minus v option, it shows that 76 56% replaced with sample z. So 56% is compressed. So normal file size is, say for example, 100 MB. Now it is 56 MB. So that percentage it will shows. That is the simple thing. And once you want the original file back, you can use uncompress. So because you are compressed it and you normal, it is not now it is not a normal file. You cannot display the contents of that file with the cat command. So what you want to do is, I want to get back to the original file. So to get back to the original file, you need to use uncompress. That is the command used to revert. Revert it means normal compress file to normal file. So uncompressed to uncompressed command should be used with the .z file. So normal file is sample you have created or compressed this sample file with compress command. Now it is sample.z, and if you want back the original file, you need to use uncompress, that is uncompress sample z. So now again the sample z file will be deleted in directory and normal sample file will be stored again. So that is the thing you need to remember. Okay. uh, so same thing I have told you. Once the file has been compressed, we cannot view it using the normal cat command. So jetcat for the purpose, you can use jetcat sample z. Then the contents will be displayed in the readable format. Okay. So the second command is pack command. So pack command is also works similar to compress command. Only difference is compress command will compress the files more than pack command. So pack command, say for example the same file I am taking here, in the previous case it is compressed by 56 percentage. When you use pack command, it only compress it 37 percentage. So in that way you can should see the difference. Same thing will happen here also. Sample z will be created and the normal file will not be there. So you can also you are not able to display the contents of sample z here. When you compress the file using pack command, you need to use pcat to display the contents of the file. Jetcat will cannot be used here. Jetcat is used when you compress the file with compress command. Now you are compressing the file with the using pack command. So whenever you are using pack command, you need to use pcat to display the contents. And same thing, whenever you want to get back to the normal file, use unpack. So same pack unpack. So unpack sample z will gets you back the original file. So these are the two things you need to remember. So this is the end of this session. And by the way, almost all basic commands we have seen till now. And in the next classes, what we'll do is we will move into some advanced concepts, some more information we will discuss. And see, because our syllabus is divided such a way that we cannot, I cannot say now that how much topic we have till now, covered till now, because I think first unit is already over. We are already into the second unit. So because those permissions, file permissions, changing owner, changing group commands are in the second unit itself in our syllabus. So I maybe missed some topics in the first unit. So because it is not clear, the syllabus is not clear by JNTUK, I mean, not differentiated properly, I think. So I am going in a process or a flow where you will get all the items one by one. So don't worry about that. And I will prepare the notes for each unit so that you will get understand which topic is belongs to which unit. That is fine. Okay. And because it is already over, now what I will do is I will share you the PDF of the lecture notes of the topics which we have discussed till now, and you can use them and you can study well. And as I told earlier, whatever the things in Unix you will learn in by watching videos need to be practiced. Without any practice, you will not going to remember them. So once while you are studying, you may feel little bit easier because everything is a single command. Every command is different from other, so you will get easy. I mean, you will feel very easy. But I mean, once you cross that mark and when you get into the advanced topics, you may or may not use these commands again. So you may not remember all these things. So practice, practice is the only thing you can make which can make you remember all these commands. Okay. So practice, because we are already having so many applications in the normal Google. We can also find the terminals of Unix flavor. So almost all 90% of the commands will work whatever we are discussing till now. So I don't think that it will be any difficulty for anyone who can practice. Even if you don't have any systems also, if you have any internet center nearby you, you can go and sit for 1 hour so that you can practice some commands, like, right? Because as I told again and again, practice only makes you to remember these commands. Okay, and regarding the theory part and everything, I will give you the lecture notes. You just store with you and study well. All the best. Thank you.